Is Social Security about to run out? It is the #1 question I get asked when we talk about retirement planning. And usually, the headlines make it sound like your phone battery hitting 0%. The screen goes black, and the device shuts off. But that analogy is completely wrong. Today, we are going to look at the data, not the drama. I'm going to show you why clarity is better than fear, and exactly what the future holds for your benefits. Welcome back to the Frugal Hacking channel. I'm the Frugal Hacker. If you've been doom scrolling through financial news, you've probably seen the headlines screaming about insolvency and bankruptcy. Headlines are designed to get clicks, but they are terrible at explaining math. In this video, we are going to break down what the Trustees Report actually says. What happens if Congress decides to take a nap and do nothing? And, most importantly, what you can do right now to bulletproof your retirement. First, we need to fix our vocabulary. Asking, will Social Security run out, is the wrong question. It implies that once the savings account is empty, the money stops flowing. That isn't how pay-as-you-go systems work. Visual, graphic of a bucket. Water, taxes, flows in top. Water, benefits, flows out bottom. The water level in the bucket is lowering, but the tap is still running. We need to distinguish between insolvency and bankruptcy. In the language of the Social Security trustees, insolvency just means the trust fund reserves hit zero. It does not mean the program is bankrupt. Here is the key concept you need to understand: the difference between scheduled benefits and payable benefits. Scheduled benefits are what the government promised to pay you. Payable benefits are what they actually have the cash flow to cover from incoming taxes. There is a gap between those two numbers, but it is not a zero-sum game. Headline fear versus economic reality. Let's bust the biggest myth right now. All checks stop. That is false. Even if the trust fund balance goes to absolute zero, workers, you and me, are still paying FICA taxes every single paycheck. That revenue stream doesn't disappear. Think of it like a restaurant. Imagine a restaurant that usually has a huge inventory of food in the freezer. Suddenly, the freezer breaks and all the stored food is gone. Does the restaurant close? No, they can still serve food based on the fresh ingredients being delivered by the trucks that morning. They might have to shrink the portion sizes or offer a smaller menu, but the kitchen is still open. Social Security is that kitchen. The ingredients are payroll taxes. As long as people are working, the kitchen stays open. So let's look at the actual numbers from the 2025 Trustees Report. We like hard data here. The report highlights that the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, that's the OASI that pays retirees, is projected to deplete its reserves around the first quarter of 2033. Now, if, and this is a massive if, Congress does absolutely nothing between now and then, the incoming tax revenue will still be enough to pay roughly 77 to 79% of scheduled benefits. That is a significant cut, yes, but it is not zero. It is roughly 3/4 of your promised benefit. Also, a quick side note on disability insurance. That fund is actually looking much healthier and is projected to be solvent through at least 2099. So the immediate crisis is specifically regarding retirement income. Why projections change? You might notice these dates shift around. One year they say 2034, then 2033, then 2035. Why? Because these reports are economic forecasts, not crystal balls. They have to guess about inflation, wage growth, birth rates, and immigration 10 years into the future. Small changes in productivity or a spike in inflation, like we saw recently, can shift these timelines by a year or two in either direction. Treat these dates as mile markers on a map, not an expiration date on a milk carton. What's driving the shortfall? So, why is the bucket leaking faster than it's being filled? It comes down to 3 main drivers. Number 1, demographics. We have fewer workers per beneficiary. In 1960, there were about 5 workers paying for every 1 retiree. Today, That number is dropping toward 2 workers for every retiree. Number 2, life expectancy. We are living longer. That is great news for us, but it means the system has to pay out benefits for 20 or 30 years, rather than the 12 or 15 years the system was originally designed for. And number 3, the wage gap. There is a cap on how much income is taxed for Social Security. In 2025, that cap is around $176,000. Earnings above that aren't taxed for Social Security. Because high-end wage growth has outpaced average wage growth, a larger chunk of the nation's total income is escaping the Social Security tax net. The real risk is political. Here is the truth. The math problem isn't actually that hard to solve. The real risk isn't economic collapse. It's political procrastination. We call this the third rail of politics because no politician wants to touch it. The problem is that waiting makes the fix more painful. If we acted 10 years ago, the changes could have been tiny. If we wait until 2032, the changes will have to be drastic. It's the difference between tapping the brakes on your car gently or slamming them on right before you hit a wall. What happens if Congress does nothing? Let's play out the worst-case scenario. Congress is deadlocked. 2033 arrives. What happens? By law, Social Security cannot borrow money. It cannot go into debt. It can only pay out what it takes in. So, the Social Security Administration would be forced to institute an automatic, across-the-board benefit reduction. Current estimates put this cut at around 23%. If you were expecting a $2,000 check, you'd get about $1,540. It's a massive hit to a household budget, but again, I want to stress this. It is not zero. This is why planning is so critical. If you build your retirement assuming you get 100% of the promise, you're fragile. If you plan for 75%, you're robust. Lessons from 1983 and solutions. Now for some good news. We have been here before. In the early 1980s, Social Security was months away from insolvency. So, what happened? The Greenspan Commission. Congress passed a bipartisan package in 1983 that gradually raised the retirement age and adjusted taxes. It wasn't fun, but it saved the system for another 50 years. Today, the solutions are on the table. They usually fall into 3 buckets. 1. Revenue fixes. This means raising the payroll tax rate slightly, or more likely raising that taxable earnings cap so high, earners pay more. 2. Benefit adjustments. This could mean raising the full retirement age to 68 or 69, or reducing benefits for wealthy retirees. 3. Structural changes. Increasing legal immigration to get more young taxpayers into the system. It will likely be a mix of all 3. What you can do. Right now, we can't control Congress, but we can control our own finances. Here is your Frugal Hacker action plan. First, stress test your retirement. Run your numbers assuming you only get 75% of your projected Social Security benefit. If your plan still works, you are safe. If not, you need to adjust your savings rate now. Second, do not rely on Social Security as your only safety net. Diversify into 401ks, IRAs, and taxable brokerage accounts. Third, if you are healthy and have other savings, consider delaying your claim. Waiting until age 70 increases your benefit by roughly 8% per year. That guarantees a higher base, which helps buffer against any future percentage cuts. The bottom line is this: Social Security is not disappearing. It is too popular and too essential for the economy for politicians to let it die. The gap is real, but it is fixable. Don't let the headlines scare you into making bad decisions, like claiming early just because you think the money won't be there. Focus on what you can control: your savings rate, your spending, and your plan. If you found this helpful, hit that like button. It helps get this truth out to people terrified by the headlines. And let me know in the comments, does this change how you are planning for retirement? Are you banking on 100% of your benefits? Or are you planning for a cut? Make sure you're subscribed, because in the next video, we're going to deep dive into retirement income strategies that don't rely on the government at all. I'm the Frugal Hacker. Keep optimizing.